Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today we finally made it through a whirlpool of trying to get Kasey Jo on, and behavior change, you ladies know, is one of my absolute passions in all of this because it's never about the nutrition. Like, you can get a meal plan online. There are plenty of apps out there, but people are still struggling. Like, behavior change is hard. And thinking that it's going to be easy or that once you nail it, you've nailed it, is where you set yourself up to fall down the rabbit hole of there's lots of things wrong with me, blah, 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 I can never change, because relapse is also very normal. And there is no one better than Kasey Jo to be talking about everything to do with behavior change. And because the typical introductions are kind of boring, I want to just ask you, what is the main thing that you do that sets you up on fire?
I think honestly, like just working with health and fitness coaches and watching them have light bulb moments or them have that fire kind of lit inside them and being able to witness that firsthand when they like make connections or better understand something, or they try some sort of strategy from like a mindset or behavior change perspective with their clients. And they're like, oh my God, it worked. This is so cool. Like, that is my favorite part of what I get to do. So.
And it's that very part, the fact that people don't realize just how important mindset work is. Oh, well, I'm not a mindset person. I just like, that's not my thing. That's not something that I do. Yeah. Well, if you don't focus on that, what are the consequences of all of this? If you don't focus on the mindset part, if you just wipe it aside, what are the consequences going down the health and fitness realm if we try to fix all of these surface level things without allowing ourselves to dig into that mindset, the triggers, the domino effect of tracing the thoughts, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm very biased, and you're now biased as well because you've fallen into this world with me. But I really do think that your mindset, your belief systems, how you perceive things is the foundation of everything in your life, really, truly. So when we're talking about health and fitness behaviors and you're trying to change your lifestyle to be healthier, you want to be stronger, you want to be fitter, you want to be leaner, you want to be all of these things, all of that hinges on your mindset. It hinges on behavior change and psychology. If you think about it, and I think most people understand this to some degree, and they see it this way too, that everyone knows they need to exercise and eat healthy, but it's so hard to actually do consistently. We still see obesity being an issue across the globe, right? So then, like, what's going on here? If everybody knows that they're supposed to be doing these things, why aren't they? And that's where mindset and psychology play a role. So we cannot ignore those things. And the more that you do, the worse off that you're going to be. And that's not to say that if you don't really have a strong mindset practice in your life that you're going to be a failure, because that's not necessarily the case either, because truly a lot of people do lean more towards having a growth mindset outlook in a lot of ways too, but they just don't realize that that's the thing that's fueling their change and fueling their successes. So being able to unpack that a little bit more and better understand it, even for the people who maybe are already doing it, is only going to turn into more of a superpower for you.
It's easy to think there's no tangible benefit to it because there's no tangible way to measure, oh, my mindset's improving, is there? But if we can build some awareness around, hey, we responded to that event better, maybe that is a way that we can start to pull people into this mindset realm. Where do you see it help pay off in terms of, let's say, well, body image is an example, because a lot of people want to just strive for, I want to do fat loss now. I want to just get rid of this weight. I'll work on mindset later. I want to just get rid of the flub. I'll work on what's sustainable later. Like, we can talk about the sustainable stuff later. Let's just get this over and done with. How do you see that starting to spiral downward? And what would you do?
Yeah. And I actually think like you bringing up body image is the thing that will make you understand and make anyone who's listening understand better why mindset is so important, because obviously body image plays a role in our ability to lose weight or our desire to lose weight, right? And when we talk about, okay, so we have this weight loss, this really tangible outcome. Like we're losing weight, you're losing pant sizes, whatever. Like this has a very clear, tangible outcome. And then we talk about mindset, which doesn't have such a tangible outcome, but somewhere in between, I feel like kind of falls body image. And again, kind of talking about like this hinging effect is someone who has a poor body image is going to have a hard time with their weight loss goals, because they will start to get into this place of like, well, this is just the way that I am. This is how it's always been for me. I look this way. There's nothing I can do about it. It's my genetics. It's so much easier for everybody else. Like everybody else feels better about themselves than I do. And if you're in that place, which is a fixed mindset, not a very good mindset overall. So we're kind of bringing in that mindset piece now. You're not going to want to try very hard, because you're in this place of like, this is just like what I'm dealt with. This is my genetics. This is how it has to be for me. I've always struggled with this. Like et cetera, and so on, right? I could give 1,000 examples. And if you're feeling that way, then like, why try? Why seek out resources? Why put effort forth? Why really try to do anything different if you don't think you're actually going to change at the end of the day? And ultimately too, like trying to fuel behavior change from a place of poor body image, like I need to change my body because I look disgusting, right? If you're coming from that place, you're not going to want to continue to do any of these health behaviors because you're fueling it from a negative place. And something we know a lot about motivation in general is that intrinsic motivation really is the best when it comes to sustainable long-term behavior change. And intrinsic motivation is at its purest form, doing something because you enjoy it. So nobody is enjoying exercise and healthy eating if it's coming from a place of, I hate myself. Right. And in fact, it's likely more extrinsically driven, that like, I hate myself and I want to like look better for other people. And I want to be perceived as like a good looking person. Those types of things do not drive long-term change. So when we're sitting here thinking like, okay, how do we put these pieces together of mindset, body image, and weight loss? And like, that's the big part of the conversation. So your mindset also can play a role in your body image. Your body image can play a role in your mindset. And together, that kind of like synergistic effect will determine the outcome of your weight loss. So they all kind of work together in that way.
You don't see yourself as you are, ever. And if I was coming to you back in 2018 as an example, I don't know how you would have navigated this. So let's just put me back into my 2018 self. I'm struggling to lose the fat that's on my stomach, coming from someone I wasn't looking back at it. Yeah, I was very watery and puffy, but that's because I was putting that on myself by doing stupid shit with extreme stress and training 6 days a week with a 7th day of HIIT and friggin' eating like no carbs unless you want to count every single fruit and vegetable as that. Like I was scared of carbs. Carbs don't work for me. Every single time I eat carbs, I get puffy. This isn't working.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah, I just need to get leaner. Like I thought that was the answer, and I would not step away to eat more food to stop focusing on weight loss. And I feel like a lot of people come to us as coaches, not willing to let go of that for everything that you said. Like, I don't want to end up worse. I don't want to gain more weight and then have to go through all the struggles again to get back to where I was, because at least I'm in a good place. Like everything we do has a benefit in some way. And when I reflected on that, my benefit was, well, at least things aren't super bad. They're working for me good enough, but it's still not my ideal. Yeah, people don't know those thought processes. Like I wasn't, like I was perspective. So I want to know your thought process to that kind of stuff and why this is so important to stop focusing on weight loss and where else can we shift that focus to? How would you go through that to then be able to get to a place where, hey, you can actually give this your best, stop relapsing, stop struggling, and keep your results for good?
Yeah. So I guess I have a little bit of a different outlook. Like I don't ever, okay, that's not true either. I was going to say, I don't ever think you need to not focus on weight loss. Like there are definitely situations where like it's not a healthy option, if we're talking like eating disorder territory and that sort of thing. But more or less, like I would hate for anyone listening who feels like they've struggled with self-sabotage, feels like they have tried to lose weight so many times and they just like gain it back, for me to be like, okay, well, you just need to not focus on it. And they're going to be like, sure, like that makes sense, right? Because it's the thing that I want. Why would I not focus on it? And I don't think it makes sense to not focus on it entirely. And I also don't think it's entirely possible to do so. It's sort of like there's like there's a word for this and I don't remember what it is, but it's basically like if I tell you not to think about a pink elephant, all you're going to do is think about a pink elephant now, right? Like, don't think about it. Don't think about the pink elephant. I dare you. Like, don't. I'm watching you, like all you're going to do is think about it more. So I don't think that is actually the direction that I would say, like, you just need to stop focusing on it entirely. Instead, it would be, what could we add into your life? How could we do things differently? Did you know I was going to go that direction?
Yeah, that is exactly what I needed, because I couldn't stop focusing on it. And it's when I got to that empowered place where I'm feeling strong. It's that intrinsic motivation. I wanted to bring that into as well, because
100%.
I don't like the whole you don't need motivation, because the thing is, I'm never motivated. But once you start realizing how good it feels, you are motivated for how it makes you feel and the benefits you get from it. And then you start these other things and realize weight loss is still an option. All you're doing is setting yourself up for more success long term.
Totally. So it's like, it's less about removing focus and like removing this thing from your life, and more about like, what else can you add in and how can you make adjustments to what you're currently doing. And I think like more people should just like operate that way in general when it comes to, like negative emotions and stuff like that. It's always like, how do I get rid of the emotions? How do I get rid of them? It's like, no, negative emotions are going to exist. It's more about managing them than getting rid of them. Like that's like silly. We should not be thinking of things that way. So if it's a goal of yours to lose weight and sustain that weight loss, I would not say you should just like ignore it entirely if you feel like you keep like self-sabotaging your efforts. Instead, it should be like, how can I do this differently in a way that would be different from what I've tried before? And a big part of that is seeking that intrinsic motivation and seeking the enjoyment in the process. And there's other aspects of motivation. So it sort of sits on a continuum of extrinsic to intrinsic. And then we have like a few different versions in between, and a couple of those versions of motivation that are closer to the intrinsic side of things are related to your values and your identity. So I would spend some more time thinking about like, what is it that you truly value in your life? Is it like your health? Is it your energy? Is it your ability to be productive? All of these things. And now suddenly look at how all of these health and fitness behaviors fuel those values. Or how do you see yourself? How do you want to see yourself? How do you want to identify yourself? If it's, I want to see myself as a healthy person, someone who exercises regularly, I want to be like a fit individual. Like I want that identity. So if that's the case, then like what behaviors are going to fuel that identity and help you like build that identity and spend more time there than like, okay, I want to fit into a size 4 jeans, right? That's like not going to be the same type of fuel as these other types of motivation. So I think too, like I've actually never said this out loud before, but I think seeing motivation more as like a fuel opportunity for your goals, and that you are in charge of picking the type of fuel, right? So are you going to pick the premium fuel, or are you going to pick the regular fuel, or are you going to pick like the fuel that's like only going to get you down the street? And that's like your decision, and spending some time there. And yes, it takes effort and thought, and maybe you need to like sit down with a coach and have these conversations with coaches who are actually aware of this stuff. Like, please only work with coaches who have some background in behavior change and mindset, and work on those things to get there, right?
Oh, this is one of the most toxic. I think this is why you get so much passion from helping coaches, because so many clients are scared, like because of the influx since lockdown, there are so many online trainers. I'm saying trainers, but they're not trainers, they're people with a coach label, or they compete in, or they look a certain way.
100%, yeah.
had toxic relationships with toxic coaches, kind of like toxic boyfriends, and you're unwilling to put yourself onto the dating site again because it's so friggin' overwhelming to be flooded with all of these different options, and you don't know who to trust, and you don't want to trust anyone because what if they are doing the same thing as before? What if you don't trust yourself to be able to do the right relationship? Because what if you're the problem? And you start having all these questions like someone foreign onto a dating site. And I've never said that out loud because that actually just made sense. And it really does make sense. Because when I first started out, my thing was I was doing 100 reps of squats to warm up, like 10 sets of 10, just increasing weight by like 2.5 pounds.
I'm so sorry. That hurts me.
I'm burning energy. And
yeah.
I never progressed. And I hated going. And now I have a different fuel. I'm fueled with premium. Like I have performance goals, CC squatting my dogs, which is, I don't know how I'm going to do it with my border collie, but like these goals that kill me because physique change is so slow. Like it doesn't mean the physique change goal isn't there because I still want to grow more muscle. I still want to do these other things, but focusing on that isn't going to get me anywhere because I'm always going to be looking for where's the progress, and then get deflated and I don't see it the next day. But you said something, and I feel like this part's the most important part. How can I see this differently? And how can I tell a different story about it? And I feel like this filters into so many different ways that not only we see our body, but how we then turn to food to comfort us, which usually is the biggest thing that we struggle with behavior change. But then there's the diet mentality where if you're always focusing on, I need to lean up, there's going to be a fat loss phase soon, you're still living in that restriction mentality, which is kind of why all this mindset stuff is really important. Because fat loss is really hard when you do it right. There is going to be hunger. You are going to have to make trade-offs. And that shit's really difficult if you've never gotten rid of the residue, which I usually say diet residue is why there is fat loss resistance. Because that residue.
I like that. Yeah.
That's something that I wish I could just like trademark somewhere for someone to get into their head so they can realize the power of mindset. Because where is lean enough if you never see yourself as lean? Like I was dick skin lean and felt like as soon as I ate anything, like when I competed on stage way back when, the second that I even started fueling up, you know that you're still dick skin lean when you start fueling up. I felt like I was fluffy and fat. That says a lot about body image, not discriminating from what your body looks like. And that is why this is so important, because once you start to do things in line with your values, you start to see yourself in a different light and appreciate your body in different ways. And it doesn't mean letting yourself go. What are some mindsets that stop people doing this mindset work, including the whole letting yourself go, I'm going to get lazy, etc.?
Yeah, I think so. Like at the end of the day, and right, maybe we can like give a little bit of a definition. When we're saying mindset, we're essentially talking about like the lens that you're taking to see the world through. It's how you are assigning meaning to things. It's how you're making sense of things in the world. And then kind of branched off from that, we have growth versus fixed mindset, right? So when I think about, okay, well, what type of mindset is doing this? Or like what type of mindset is doing that? The reality is like, we're usually just talking about growth versus fixed mindset more like broadly. And then someone saying like, I'm not capable of this. I'm not the type of person for this. I've just never been an exerciser. I'm not someone who can track macros. All of that is a fixed mindset. So someone on the flip side, just to give the examples, would be like, I don't know what method of dieting works best for me. In the past, tracking macros hasn't been super great, but I'm also willing to like hear someone out and see if there's maybe a different way to include that if it's something that's going to help me be successful. Or, okay, in history of my life, I don't feel like I've been much of an exerciser, but I'm also open to the fact that there might be different types of exercise or different ways that I can include exercise into my schedule that might make it more enjoyable. All of that is very growth mindset oriented. So at the end of the day, we're kind of just like looking at these two categories, and a lot of different things can fall within that. And it's funny, like the number of times I've had conversations with people and I'm like, all you're talking about is a growth mindset, or all you're talking about is a fixed mindset, because it really does. A lot of things fall underneath that umbrella. I was actually just chatting with a friend earlier today, and we were talking about like victim mentality. And I just got to the point where it's like, this isn't like, yes, we're calling it victim mentality, but also people who like operate from this victim mode typically have a fixed mindset, and that's where it's coming from. Like they think that everything has happened to them, that they don't need to take any responsibility, that they don't have control over things, whatever. Like that's all a fixed mindset, and we're calling it victim mentality, right? So much of that stuff can really just like fall underneath those umbrellas.
I love this part as well, because I feel like that fixed mindset comes in when it goes back to what we were saying before, because as you get older, as time passes, we feel like we have less and less time to change. And we want to get things done immediately. More like it becomes more of an emergency issue where it's like, I'm 40 years old now. Like most of us would be working with people in their 40s and the perimenopause kind of era. And they feel like it's too late to start doing these other things because I'm in this place where I'm so uncomfortable with my body. But there's this cognitive dissonance that kind of protrudes all of their habits, where it's like, I know what I need to do, but I'm not doing it. Do you see that happen? And how do you usually tackle that?
Yeah, of course I see that happen. I feel like that's probably the most common thing. Like the number of people who are probably listening to this right now going like, no, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know I'm supposed to eat healthy. I know I'm supposed to eat exercise. I know I'm supposed to get exercise, but I just can't get myself to do it consistently, right? I just can't get myself to do it over time. I just like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I can't do it, blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, it is probably the most common narrative in the health and fitness world, right? When it comes to those types of goals. So obviously it becomes like, okay, well, what do we do about this? If everyone knows what they're supposed to do, but they can't do it, you have to dive a little bit deeper, because there are always reasons. And I think you said something at the beginning of the podcast that rang very true with this. Like people are always like doing something for a reason. Like there's a reason they're doing it. So our job as coaches, and also your job, if you're wanting to make changes in your life and get serious about it, is to figure out what that reason is. People do things for a reason always. And if you can stay in that perspective, you're going to be in a much better place. And it kind of become like the researcher, like the Sherlock Holmes of the situation. And you're like, I need to figure this out, rather than like, this is just the way it is. Right. So I like to say that people do things for ultimately one of two reasons: to eliminate discomfort or to solve a problem. And it can, humans are very complex creatures, but it can really be that simple. And even though it may seem like, okay, I'm trying to solve the problem of being tired by skipping the gym and just going home and turning on Netflix, like that's the problem you're trying to solve. Yeah, that may not be like the best way to solve it. And it might not be the most logical thing to do if you have a weight loss goal or whatever. It's still solving a problem in some way, right? So even if the outcome in the thing that you're doing doesn't really seem logical or the best way to do things, it's still solving a problem or eliminating discomfort, right? So the more we can spend time looking at that and diving a little bit deeper and like starting maybe there with that question, like, okay, so what's going on here? If you can't stick to the plan, you're having a hard time getting to the gym consistently, you keep saying you're going to meal prep and you don't, what are you doing instead of those things? And how is it either solving some sort of problem or eliminating some sort of discomfort? And spend some time there, because I can almost guarantee that you're going to find an answer there.
I had the most fulfilling call right before this podcast with one of my ladies, and this is one of the things we spoke about. In when she went through the most distressing time of her life, she had to take time away to herself for like 2 months, but then she came back and she opened up to all these things and I made connections. And she brought up two things that she never mentioned before. And I came down to back to the values and why values matter. She does need some connection, but without solitude, she's a blubbering mess. She never gave herself solitude. It was either work, family. And for the past 1 year and a bit that we've been working together, she's been struggling with food. A lot of people would have quit. She didn't. She kept pushing through. And now we got the breakthrough in that we realized what it was trying to solve. She used to be a smoker. She used to take time with herself outside with a cup of coffee and a smoke and spending time with herself. She never did that ever since she stopped. I'm like, so
interesting.
Why don't we put in some time with yourself so you get your solitude and peace? Because protecting your peace seems like it's of high value to you. And then you're not going to go to food anymore. And she's like, that makes so much sense. That's exactly what I was doing. Like, it might not make sense in the moment, but if you don't try to, like you said, appreciate the fact that you're a human with feelings that are negative and allow yourself to figure out what those are, because there is something there. And the more that you keep fighting, coming up with different alternatives to serve that need, you're going to keep repeating the same thing. And you say something so powerful that I love. You get to decide what things mean to you. And there was the podcast that I heard Kasey on back in 2020, 21, when the lockdown started, whenever it was. It was something around that quote, because I never forget it. And it was about the way that we see lenses. And I think it was you that came up with the example where we could both be in the same room. One of us is wearing pink glasses, the other is wearing blue glasses or something. And we're all having the same experience. Like, it's the same thing. But we come away from that event with completely different stories of the exact same thing. And that is inherently every single option that there is. It can be body image. It can be the way that we're approaching our journey. And I feel like this is something really important that we can touch on here, because, like you said, when you improve your mindset, there's less all or nothing thinking. There's less self-sabotage. There's more self-control. Now you tell me how that isn't going to then help you in a fat loss phase.
Yeah, I mean, you're really hitting the nail on the head with just, it's so simple, but like also so difficult, right? That you get to decide what things mean. And so if we kind of bring things back to fat loss and body image and how those things are connected, again, if you look at yourself in the mirror and you've been actively working towards losing weight and feeling better and looking better, and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm like so far away from the goal still. Like, I hardly look any different. I've been at it for months. Like, what's the point? Right? Or you could look in the mirror and go, okay, I haven't made a ton of progress yet, but I also have only been at this for a few months. And this is after years and years and years of not paying attention to any of this stuff. So I really can't expect that much at this point. But when I think about it, I'm starting to feel better in the gym. I'm like not out of breath as much as I used to be. That one pair of pants definitely was fitting me looser the other day. So something's happening, even if it's like not anything massive yet, right? And like, you get to decide that. Like, that's it. So approaching yourself in the mirror and like trying to deliberately think about the things that have been showing you that progress is being made, even if it's something is small on the smaller side. Like, we can't expect like, wow, I look like I've lost 100 pounds in 3 months. Like, that's not something we want to expect anyway. And like, if that was happening, it'd probably be unhealthy. And like, that's not what I want for you anyway. So I think reminding yourself that you get to decide what things mean and where you're at. And instead of seeing it as like, oh my God, I'm so far away from my goal, it's like, no, I'm actually already 20% of the way to my goal. Right. So rather than seeing it that way, you can like sort of like a glass is half full, glass is half empty type of thing. Right. And just always reminding yourself that you have the power. And I think it's like, it reminds me of a story when I was first getting into fitness and nutrition. This was probably like circa 2012 or so. And I remember I was in the locker room and I was like kind of like checking out like the muscle growth in like my shoulders, and was like, okay, I think I can kind of, this is me being like probably 6 months to a year into like consistent strength training. And I was like, I think I can kind of see a difference. Like, I think I'm starting to see something. And instead of being like, oh, God, I've been doing this for a year and I still don't look like I have muscle. Instead of that, my first thought was, I cannot wait to see what I look like next year. And then the year after that. And like, oh my God, what am I going to look like after doing this for 10 years? You know? So like, that was my perspective of choice. And I can tell you, I've been consistent in strength training since 2012, and it is currently 2024. So I really, really think I'm not just, and this was before me even learning anything about mindset science, mind you, but I remember that story. And I remember that was like the narrative that was playing in my head was never like, God, why am I not further along? Why does this girl look so much better than me? It was always like, man, if I keep up with this, what am I going to look like? How am I going to feel? Like, this is so exciting, right? Even if I wasn't seeing a ton of progress in real time. So just a good like story, a real life story example of like what that can actually look like.
I laugh with that because that was my story. I started when did I start? I started in 2015, 2016. And I feel like we were lucky because it was before the lockdowns when everyone went online. I feel like you know this because you've probably been coaching since way before lockdowns. I reckon that people got much better progress before lockdowns, and there is a lot more struggle now because of the fact that there are a lot more comparisons online. People are more impatient. It's like we only see the small success stories now versus there were like, I just felt like people felt like they could be more in control of their results back then because they weren't comparing themselves to these massive transformations. Whereas now people are more impatient than ever. They want quick fixes more than ever. And it's just really difficult to just focus on your own lane and do things at your pace when you're questioning everything, because now you have all these new beliefs that have been flooded with artificial intelligence as well. But there was something that I wanted to dig on because there's two things that I want to touch on before you zip. One of them is how getting thrust into an environment with people that are negative and spur up negative emotions, because we become more critical of ourselves when we are in an emotionally heightened state. It can be when we feel control of our situation, or we have some distaste for the people around us, or people just make us feel ick about just life in general. It doesn't even have to be about our bodies. Then all of a sudden we don't feel comfortable in our bodies and we want to control our bodies. That is one element of it. But the other one is also questioning our body image fears and finding evidence for the opposite, like that whole like challenging your beliefs, the ABC that you mentioned.
Yeah. And I feel like you could almost talk about these together because to some degree, like the people that are around us, like we are a little bit subject to the other people in our lives and the social influence in our lives and the social norms that exist. Like that is just part of being human. But also I would encourage everyone listening to, instead of thinking like, okay, well, this is how those people are in my life, or this is the way that these people are in my life, and I have to like go that direction, that instead you see that as sort of a challenge and a way for you to challenge yourself to think differently and do things differently. So when you're starting to feel maybe a little bit of friction because you're out to dinner with your friends and everybody's ordering pizza and you're like, I don't even really want pizza, and that's really not going to fit my macros for the day, but am I going to really be like the lame person who's going to order a salad? So instead of just saying like, okay, well, screw it. Like, I don't want to deal with like the negativity or like what people are going to say or they're going to think or whatever. I'm just going to order the pizza. Instead, this is an opportunity for you to go like, no, this is a challenge. Actually, this is an instance where I am trying to change my behavior. I'm trying to go against my normal behavior and also what's deemed normal around me. And that's probably going to feel a little uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable because it's not normal. But what I want to do is not do what I normally do. So in this instance, this is a great opportunity for me to order the salad or order the healthier option and kind of navigate that and see how it goes. Like, I'm now excited for this challenge in this situation rather than I am worried that I'm going to be like different from the rest of the crowd. So that's how I would kind of like encourage you to start to see just like situations in general, anytime there is a challenge or there's discomfort, because on the other side of challenge and discomfort is always growth. There's always something better and new over there. And I can tell you firsthand, the more I have just like sunk those words into my brain, I actually find myself in situations that are typically like, outside looking in, very stressful, maybe very emotional, not very good in general. There's a part of me that is like, bring it on. I'm so excited. Like, what do you got for me? What's on the other side of this? Right. So the more you can do that and like move yourself in that direction, easier said than done, but I promise you it's possible. And there will be some friction because again, it's not your normal, but if you can start to get yourself going in that direction, you're going to see so much more on the other side of that. And your social standings and who's in your life are going to either push you towards that or push you away from that. And again, you get to make that choice.
I think until you've failed in the environment that you want to fail in, you are always going to cut yourself short because you're always going to fear going that little bit in case you fail because you don't know what's on the other side. But if you allow yourself to just like flirt with it once and then see that it's not that bad on the other side, it's fine. Like I moved states. I used to be fine with bailing the squat and fit because I hate squat bars. It gives me anxiety. So I don't squat bars. And I would rather dump a bar. I was fine with that at my old gym. I purposely failed a lightish squat just so I could bail the squat in this gym and feel okay with it. To be like, okay, that's done now. I'm fine if I end up failing the squat. It's like, you don't know until you visited there. But I think this is where, okay, so what's the worst that can happen? What's the best that can happen? Now, what is the most realistic outcome that can happen based on the evidence before? Maybe you can lean back to when something happened in the past where you were challenged in a similar situation. How did you get through that? What skills did you use? If you never slow down to recognize these things, you're never going to give yourself the opportunity. I like calling it like a success resume. Like you make a resume of all the things that you've done in the past and got through things so that you can use it in the future for future things. And you mentioned something before I wanted you to tie into this. When all you do is focus on like your body in a negative way, picking negatives, what's going to come of it, blah, blah, blah. Same with the food, what's going to come of this event, negatives. That's what's going to enhance. Like the more that you focus on your body, the more that it becomes an issue. But then you mentioned, how do I want to show up? And I feel like that is really important in every situation. So I feel like you tying that together with that kind of thing would be really beneficial for the audience and anything else as a tool that you can fit in there.
Yeah, I think just overall, yes, be okay with failure. And I actually have another like little mini story about this. I went to a yoga class, was it last week, and we were practicing handstands. And I fell, like, which is, nobody wants to fall when you're in a handstand, fall with like your feet going over you, right? Like it's a lot easier if you just fall like the kind of the way that you got up. But I fell that way, but I fell like kind of like softly, gracefully, whatever. And the instructor was like, that was like the softest, most graceful fall. What is your secret? And I go, I wasn't scared to fall. And he goes, that was profound. And I was like, like silly, whatever. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, I guess a lot of people probably fall really hard because they're scared. They're scared to fall. And so because I was already of this perspective of like, if I fall, whatever, like I actually ended up falling better. And so that was kind of like an analogy to a lot of what you were saying is, if I am expecting to fail and I'm almost welcoming failure because I know that failure gives me something to learn from, and to like, I can get something out of that, then the whole situation, the whole experience is probably going to go a lot better. Right. So that, again, sort of like an analogy for the real thing, but it's also very true that if you're kind of like failure, setbacks, obstacles, they're going to be inevitable in the process. And in fact, I actually am going to get something of that. You get less scared of it. And therefore the entire journey, the entire experience is a lot more beneficial and feels a lot better along the way too.
Let's tie this to something super practical for everyone listening. So you see me and Kasey Jo, you see us here. Have you noticed in your clients, and I know I've noticed in my clients, they have a particular demeanor, a particular way of talking, a particular way of carrying themselves that is very different to you and me right now. We're very animated. We're very excited for what's to come. Whereas most people are very timid. They live life with the handbrake on. They fear these different things, and they live in that's the whole, like, there's a people that are still wanting to change their bodies coming out of this negative place versus this empowered place. And Kasey's successful. I've got to where I am now, not by luck. It's by working my way here through the shit that you have the opportunity to now do that you have the mindset. Like this mindset stuff is so freaking important. Just being introspective isn't enough. You need to act on it. You need to put it in, not be afraid to fail. I think that's actually the best way for you to tie this up, because I know you need a zip, but the demeanor that you see, how does this truly shape the success that people want to see by simply not focusing on it, but by shifting the focus, shifting the energy. Let's use the word energy. I like that word.
Yeah, 100%. It is. Yeah, rather than just like solely focusing on the outcome and solely focusing on the thing that you want so bad. And like, I'm not saying don't, just kind of like where we started at the very beginning of this conversation, but like what else is there that could really use your attention, that could be really, really helpful? And a lot of times that is the obstacles, the setbacks, the failure, the challenges, the hard shit that is required to get to that outcome. And spending some more time there, and not necessarily thinking like, how can I actually, honestly, I'm like, don't do this, but honestly, you might be okay with doing this. Like, seek failure, seek discomfort, seek challenge. And where you find those things, you will find your opportunity for growth and your next multiple steps towards your goal. Like, I can almost promise you that that will be the case. And the more you can just like get excited for the process in general, the more likely you are to see success in the outcome, and that focus on the process rather than solely on the outcome.
Yeah. You said focus that process part. PR the process, not the progress. You
Love
want
it.
to like the PR the process. Yeah. And one more that I'll leave you guys with is your weaknesses are untapped potential. So chase that. I love Kasey Jo's podcast. So if any of you want a little bit more on the mindset part and to see how it can relate to you, Kasey talks to coaches a lot of the time in her podcasts, which I think can actually benefit you guys listening to this, because it doesn't feel like it's talking about your lives, but you get to see it from a zoomed out lens. And I think that's where a lot of us kind of fall short. Like, we're so zoomed in, we don't see the perspective. So aside from not another mindset podcast, which you can just search on Spotify while you're listening to this, where else can people find you? Where do you want them to go?
Yeah, probably Instagram. Honestly, I'm on a various other social media platforms, but for the most part, that's where I spend the majority of my time and where I interact with my community the most and everything. So I'm Coach Kasey Jo over there. Would love to connect with you. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, if you want to share any takeaways with me. I would absolutely love that.
Yay. Please do. Like, we love seeing the takeaways. I love seeing the takeaways. Let us know. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And if you enjoyed it, please give it a 5-star rating. I'm trying to get to that 100 mark. I made it halfway. I would like to make it to the other half of the 50 now. So thank you all that have already rated my podcast. And if it helped you in any way, let us know. Visit Kasey, listen to our podcast, and please don't flick mindset off. It is your greatest secret power. And I'm saying secret power, not superpower, because everyone will ask you how
It's a secret. Yeah.
Everyone will ask you, how did you do it? So with that,